All right, squad, this is a good one. It's a really complicated topic, but very important for us. So in Clipflow, we need to upload large files. I've seen people on Reddit needing to do the same. So I'm gonna show you how to do that with Rails and set up the custom endpoints. We're gonna use the S3 Multipart gem from Janko, legend, and I'll quickly show you what we're gonna do. We're gonna create a new controller called Multipart. So it's uploads S3 Multipart, and we've got a create and a show and the prepare part and all those endpoints that we required. So I'm gonna walk you through how to do all that. I'm gonna show you how to set up Uppy with custom method calls for each one of those so it can work through. And then be able to do is we're gonna be able to jump in here. We're gonna grab our Multipart file. And if you look in here and when we're inspecting, check our network and hit upload, you're gonna now see it's gonna chunk the file up, and then it's gonna start getting specific URLs for each part. So it's going to upload multiple parts at a time. You can see it's hitting S3 here 7 times, 7 different parts at once. So it's going to saturate that upload and make sure the file comes real fast, pop it into S3, and then we're going to connect it in Rails. So let's jump in. Okay, so just running through quickly what we have already. So inside of Clipflow, we have this button. So I'll just jump into here. So we have this upload button, and we use this across all of our upload areas, so media or packaging, etc. We're using Uppy for this. So we've got a component here using the view components, and then we've got a controller or a stimulus controller connected to that button. Now it does a whole bunch of stuff here, like initializes Uppy, etc. when it connects. So we define Uppy here. We just got our basic settings through here. I'll go through all this in another video and show you how we actually set it up. But the important part here is that we're using AWS S3. So this plugin here from Uppy, and we've got an endpoint. Now there are multiple endpoints when you're doing multi-part uploads to check progress and to schedule new uploads. We've got a pre-signed URL for single file uploads so that aren't multi-part. So these are files under 100 megabytes. So you can see here, we've got this 100 megabytes kind of check over here. If this returns false, then we use this method. And this method pre-sign uses the pre-sign upload, which we're using active record directly, the direct upload URL value from Rails to get the pre-signed URL, and then doing the whole song and dance here to get the response from Rails, and then to get the actual pre-signed data. So the URL where we're gonna upload to, etc. So that's for single files. Multi-part files are a little bit more complex where they need all the different routes. So today what I'm gonna do is walk you through the routes, and as I'm learning. So I'm using this gem here, which is the Janko Uppy S3 Multipart. Janko's an absolute lord, released heaps of great stuff for Ruby and Rails. But anyway, the important part here is you can use this gem to auto-generate endpoints for us. And I've tried that, and it gave me a whole bunch of stuff, but I think I want a little bit more control. I want to be able to get the key from the blob first and then use that to pass it through. So we need a little bit of customization there. But if you have a look at the routes, so I tried it over here, you can see it. We mount this whole piece of code here, which is getting the bucket, and then creating the multi-part app, and that creates basically an endpoint here, S3 Multipart. Okay, so that does that, and then it creates all the different routes. So I think there are about 5 or 6 routes that get created. But I want to have some control. Like I said, I want to create the blob in our DB first so that we have access to that, and then we can connect those two, because we need once we finished uploading, we connect the two. So we're using the signed ID. So we need that ID in order to create the link in Rails. Now we don't get that directly using this other method, from what I can see, because it's not really built just for active storage. It's kind of a bit more generic, but we need to set it up so that it can do that. Prerequisites are you have your S3 bucket set up. So I've just got one here, Clipflow development in S3. Make sure you know how to set up the IAM so you get your credentials, etc., etc. I'm not going to cover all that. That's been done many times before by many other people. But what we want to do today is we want to scroll down to here, and we want to implement this client thing. So it says if you'd rather implement the endpoints yourself, right? So this is what we want. We want to have a little bit more control. So eventually what I'd actually look at as well is probably pulling the gem out completely and just implementing the AWS logic directly. But just for the, trying to get this feature out quickly, I'm going to use this gem just to skip through all that. But it just means that there's not a gem to keep, updating, and we can just maintain the AWS part directly. But anyway, so what we want to start is we want to implement the client, and we are going to implement these different routes. So create multi-part upload, list the parts, prepare upload part, complete upload, and an object URL. And then the abort multi-part upload, right? So those are the key endpoints that we need to do. So now we can start that. All right, so firstly, I think what we want to do is we want to actually define a route or controller for this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a upload controller that handles this. So it'll be upload / S3 multi-part, okay, something like that. And then it'll have list parts, prepare upload part, etc., etc. Before we start on that one, let's have a look inside of it's always a good idea to have a look inside of here. So what we can see is we have this lib, and then they have the S3 multi-part, and they have basically the app, right? And you can see here how it actually creates a router, and then it mounts different paths. So we can see here, here's the upload ID, the upload batch. You can see all the different routes that it's creating for us, the upload complete, etc., etc. So we're gonna mimic those exact same routes. So here's where it has a delete route. So we need to create those. So it's always a good idea if you're using a gem like this, just see what it actually does, because then we can actually go and re-implement these things. Let's go here and we're gonna go and create. So I'm gonna just close off some of this. So I'm gonna go in here into routes, V2 routes for Clipflow, but you probably don't, if you don't have versioned routes, that's fine. But what we're gonna do here is we're gonna scroll down. So we're gonna create one called uploads. Loads, right? And then what we're gonna do here is we're gonna have, what kind of uploads? So we're gonna have, it's really a namespace. So we're gonna go namespace uploads do. Okay, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna have, so the first one is gonna be S3 multi-part, and it is a post. So we're gonna have S3, and I guess we can do a namespace again. S3, and this is going to be multi-part, so we're going to do a create here. So let's see, so open up our routes and just make sure that that's done that. So we're going to go Rails routes. I'm going to pull this up here so you guys can see it better. Rails routes, and then we're going to just go grep S3 and just see what we're getting. So there's the old one, and here we're gonna have, so we're gonna have uploads / S3 / multi-part, and that's gonna go to V2 uploads S3 multi-part. So that, now we can implement this in the controller. So we're gonna go V2, and now what we can actually do is we can have a folder here, I believe. We're gonna go uploads, and then we're gonna have in here, it goes S3, so we can go here new, and we're gonna go S3 controller.rb. All right, and we're gonna say, just grab that. So we're gonna go module V2, and then we're gonna go, no, go away. Module uploads. Right, and we're just gonna inherit from the normal controllers. So we go V2 uploads, and then this is gonna be S3 controller. And then we got multi-part. Okay, so that's not right. It's just trying to render out this for us right now. So this is cursor just trying to do its thing, which is not really right. So we'll just delete that for now. So that, let's just see if that all matches up. So that's gonna go to V2 uploads S3 multi-part. V2 uploads S3 multi-part. Excellent, all right. Now, what I'm gonna do here is we wanna also be able to just test this route out. So let's try and see if we can do it with Postman and just hope that we don't get a CSRF token issue. So localhost, and then we're gonna go here, we're gonna go V2 / uploads / S3 multi-part. And let's just send that. And what are we getting? V2 uploads. So the route that we actually have to use is without the V2, because I've actually forgotten that I've made V2 default, so that you can see here, V2 path is just slash. So that's fine. But now what we need to do is we need to skip forgery protection because we don't want this CSRF token, but we also want to skip, just for now while we're testing, we also want to skip our validate, the user. We want to, so it's before action authenticate. So we don't want to authenticate. So we're going to say skip before action. Before action, and it's not verify authenticity, but it's actually authenticate. Let's see if that works, because we don't want to authenticate right now. There we go. Okay, so we've got a 204 no content. Great. So now if we just say render JSON, and that's going to just spit out a URL, which is fine for now, whatever. There we go. Okay, so it's working. So we've got the endpoint working, so it's all wired up correctly. Now, what we need to do is we need to create using the client. So if we go here down and look for the client again, well, actually we can see it in here, right? So you can get hints of what's happening in here. You can see it's going a client call, create multipart upload, right? So what we want to do is, if you have a look in here, create multipart upload, right? So this is what we need to call for the first route. But you can see here, we need this to set up this client first. So what we're going to do here is we're going to create a private method. So this is going to just be called client. And we're going to say here, let's first require this. All right, and we're going to set up a new client, right? So we're going to go here, Uppy client. So it's going to be client. So if it's already instantiated, we're going to say or equals begin, because I want to set up a block here. Now what's going to happen is it's going to use this automatically, or if it doesn't exist yet, it's going to set it up. Okay, so this is all probably nonsense. It is all nonsense, so let's just clear that because it's actually completely wrong. We are going to go and set it up like this. So it's going to be that. And then we're going to return client. It's not going to be configured. I don't know where it's grabbing that from. But what we want to look like is this. So that's our bucket, which we have to pass in. So we're going to pass in our bucket. All right, so we're going to set up a bucket. And this is using the AWS library directly. Let's just check that we haven't required anything else. Okay, so we've got our access key, and I'm using the credentials to dig all this stuff. I want to use the accelerate endpoint here, which just means a little bit faster uploads from different regions. You can have a look at that with S3. Then we have got our bucket. We pass our bucket into the client. Let me just see if there's anything else that I did here. New bucket, and that's the options when we want to create. So I'm just using intelligent tiering here because we are dealing with big files, and we want to make sure that when those files are needed, usually in the first couple of weeks, they are available and fast. And then over time, they get moved down to slower tiers because they're not used, and they cost less money to store because it is expensive to store gigabytes of video, right? So this is one of the main reasons, right? If you're doing multi-part uploads, you're dealing with big files. So it's a key thing you want to look out for. So now that we've got our bucket, we can now pass that bucket into the client, create a client, and return that. We probably don't even need this. We can just return that straight out of there. Okay. Now that should be good. So now we have access to this client in other requests. Okay, so let's now go here, and we can say, so to create a multi-part upload, we're going to get client, and we're going to create it with the options that we provide. So here we're going to say, okay, right? So this is our create multi-part upload, but we also want to get the actual options that is returned. So the result, right? Result equals. This key is what I want to automatically, or I want to create. So we're going to fix this, and here's options. Now, what do we return? We have to return it like this. So our JSON needs to look like this. Okay. we got our key, and that comes from the result, and then we've got our upload ID. So this is the ID from S3 that we're going to use to communicate the progress. So we've got that. Options will crash because we actually haven't got any yet. So let's just have a look. Where is options coming from? They're creating options here. The content type, the ACL, content disposition is inline. All right, so let's just copy this for now. It just helps. Right, so we're gonna say, so I'll push that up there. So he's adding these. So it's like if, I guess what we can do is options ACL is equal to params ACL if params ACL dot present, right? So that's what we're gonna do, how we're gonna handle this. So if we pass up the ACL, that'll be there. And it's gonna be the same for all of these actually. So it's content type, and then content disposition if file name. So we're gonna say here, file name is gonna be like that. Yes. All right, content type, content disposition, content type. Excellent, excellent. Now let's have a look if this works, if we hit it. So we're gonna just go here, we're gonna hit send. Unable to sign requests without credentials set. All right, so that's probably because I need to restart my server. So make sure that you've actually got those credentials set. I did set them previously, but I just didn't restart. So let's hope that's as simple as that. No, transfer acceleration is not configured. Okay, so that's fine. So what we're gonna do here is we're just gonna say for now, we're gonna leave this as false because I haven't set it up on my bucket in development. That's fine, so let's just hit send. There we go, cool. All right, so the only thing that I wanna do here is I'm just gonna say JSON. Maybe let's just see if this fixes it. No, pretty, okay, sorry, there we go. Now, you can see what we want. Okay, so we got a key, which is foo, which is what we provided. And then we've got this upload ID, right? So that's gonna set it. So let's just see in here, does it create anything for us? No. So that must be managed in the backend. I haven't done many multi-part uploads with S3, but so it must be stored somewhere until we've actually initialized the upload. But now you can see we're getting the first part that we need, right? So it's the key and the upload ID. And that's just because of all of this. But now what I need to do here actually is I want to create the blob. So I want to actually create the blob for the same way that we do for single files. So if you have a look here, we get this blob, right? And that is to create it in the Rails. So with the way active storage works, I'll just show you quickly in here. We have attachments and blobs. These are the key ones that we actually focus on. Not the variants are just different sizes of images and stuff, but the blobs and the attachments. So firstly, you create a blob, which is basically the file, and that has the reference that gets, run through, and we can pick up any metadata, well, how big it is, checksum, where it's stored, so it's local storage, or if it's stored in S3, for example, and all that. And then we connect the blob to a record. So for instance, when you say has one file, it will then be, so whatever that asset was, so it could be, for us, we have a channel has a profile image. So a channel has one profile image. You can see that we link a channel 12 to a blob ID 454. So if you go into the blobs and you look for 454, you'll find it over here. And then that key there is what is in S3. That's what we're actually storing. That's the file name in S3. And then this is the original file name. So this is what the user actually uploaded. They uploaded this, and then we've got the content type, etc., etc. So this is how active storage works. You create the blob first, and then you upload the file to S3, and then once that's done, you connect the blob to the asset and create an attachment. And once that attachment's done, those files are linked. So this allows us to, it's called direct uploading. We're uploading to S3 and then later on basically telling Rails to connect those two, or that's done and it's ready to be used or utilized. Because a blob record can exist without the file existing in S3 yet. Okay, a little bit technical, but it's important to know so you understand how this all works behind the scene. Okay, so how do we create this blob now? So this is gonna be an interesting thing. So usually what I did is I just hit this, the Rails direct upload URL, right? And that would create it for me. But now what we want to do is basically circumvent that, and we want to create a blob ourselves. So we need to figure out how can we manually create the blob. Reading the manual or the docs for active storage, you can see here we've got this create before direct upload. So I think this is going to be the call we need to make. And then we pass in the key, file name, byte size, checksum, content type, metadata, service name, and record. So we need the checksum of the file. So luckily we've got a little script that we're using, which we've pulled out and kind of manipulated to our own use case. So we can get that, and then we can get the service name, record. So, okay, so we need to do this active storage create before direct upload. So to do that, what we're gonna do here is we're gonna create the blob. So these are the options for the client, but we want the blob first, right? So the blob's gonna be, whoa, blob equals active storage blob, not find by, but what we're gonna do here is we're gonna go create before direct upload, right? So here what we need is the file name, we need the byte size, we need the checksum, and we need the content type to create this blob, okay? So to imagine what this is gonna look like, so what we're gonna get here is we're gonna get a blob, and then we're gonna get the signed ID. So from that, if you look at what this usually returns, it's gonna have a signed ID, right? So what we're gonna do, you know, S3 controller, is we're gonna go here and we're gonna also say signed ID is blob.signed ID, okay? But now we need to provide all these things. Now, what I did is I've pulled this little, so if you look inside of our original pre-sign, we've got this little function here called await file checksum.create, right? So I've pulled this out of active storage. They have that method, but I've made it so that it works with promises so that we can await it, because it used to have a callback method, which I didn't like using. But that is sitting inside of our JavaScript utils, and it's called this file checksum. So this is pulled directly from active storage, but I've just turned it into a promise-based file. And if anyone needs this, just let me know in the comments, and I can put this on GitHub for you guys to actually have a look at. But it's just basically a modified version of the file checksum. So you can figure out, you know, either build your own or just let me know if you need this one. Okay, so we need to get the checksum. And the checksum is just so that active storage knows what to expect. It basically says, you can't generate a URL and then send me the wrong file, because I'm gonna check it, and if it's wrong, I'm gonna reject it. So here's the checksums, right? So you can see I've uploaded the same, obviously the same file, because the checksum is exactly the same. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna just use these things. So it's basically exactly the same stuff we need here. So inside of Postman, we're gonna go here, we're gonna do a blob. Let's do a blob like this. Pretty much exactly the same. So we're gonna go blob, and then we're gonna look for the param. So let's go here and create def blob params. And let's see if this guy can do it. There we go, great. So we're gonna get require blob, and then we're gonna do this. And then we can just pass these params straight in. All right, so we're gonna get blob params. You've done this many times before. And we're gonna go here, we're just gonna pass in blob params, boom, like that, okay? Then we're gonna get a blob. Sweet, let's see. So, keep going here, but we need to go into Postman. Here's our blob. We're gonna post this up and let's see what happens. Let's see what crashes we get. We got a crash. Wrong number of arguing given 1, expected 0. Ah, damn. So it doesn't wanna use those params. Okay, so it doesn't look like we can pass a safe param straight in, but let's just do dig, and then we're gonna go blob, or actually, sorry, we can do this. We can go blob params. Okay, so now we're using the blob params here. So they're just checked so we don't pass anything. That's fine. It's kind of a waste of time, but anyway. You can now see when we hit this endpoint, we're getting key foo, which isn't really what we want yet. So we need to fix that, that's wrong. But we are getting the signed ID, all right? So that signed ID now, we can use that when we wanna connect the two files together, all right? Great, so that's excellent. But what we want to now do is we want to get the blob. So if we have a look at what the return looks like, there's a key here. All right, so we want to use the blob key. This is one of the main reasons why I wanted to do this. And what we can do now is actually say the content type is going to be the blob content type. Hopefully there's a blob content type as well. So we just keep these things all together. So content type is going to be blob.content type. ACL, I don't think we get this with this one, which is fine. And the size we don't need. Content definition is the file name. All right, so that's going to be this one. So it's going to be blob.filename. So here we can just say blob.filename because you always need this. We don't have to have this anymore. All right, so the only thing is this ACL now, right? If we have a different ACL, which in our use case, probably not. It's always going to be the same. All right, so now we have all this set up. Let's just run it again. Oh, we got a mistake. Blob.encode for action. We probably need to go file name to string. All right, because it's got a special class on that one. That's fine. There we go. Great. All right, so we've now done part one, which is the actual setting up the multi-part upload. Now we can move on to the next one. Okay, so there are two part options ones here, that endpoints. So it has an options S3 multi-part, and all this is doing is returning a 204. It's actually doing nothing else. So I'm not sure if you need to implement these or not, because it's basically just getting options headers, which seems to just be nothing right now. Which is status code 204 is just successful request. So I'm not sure if we actually need to implement them because it doesn't mention them here, right? So for now, I'm just going to keep moving forward and then we can test it later and just see if it actually needs it. So we need the list parts one. That's the next one. So this is the list parts one. So it's a get request to S3 multipart and then the upload ID. All right, so let's go in here and scroll down to our upload endpoint. So this is now a get, and this is to an ID. All right, so I'm actually going to try change this to a resource, and then I'm going to say only. So far we have create, and then we also want to get show, right? Because that's the ID route. So let's just see if this works. So we're going to go here and let's have a look at what we get. So we now have uploads. So that's just, but we also need the ID. So we actually need the so we need the ID on the end here. So the create route is fine. So we just have to check this one. So that's, why is the ID not there? Right, so that's just a typo by me. It should be resources, not resource. And then that now we can see here, we've got our post to the multi-part and we've got our applied multi-part ID. Perfect. All right, so that's the show route. So now what we can do here, this should really be create as well. Let's just double check what we're actually spitting out because now we can see, yeah, it goes to create. Okay, so we can fix this. So now it's called create. So we have S3 controller. And let's just see also where that's going because I feel like I might have stuffed that. So I need, actually now need to namespace this properly. So let's just go here. So we're gonna go S3 and now this will be called multi-part controller. Now hopefully all of these routes are multi-part. I think they all are. Yep. Okay, cool. So this is actually better. So it goes uploads S3 multipart, but we just have to make sure that we now also go here, module S3, and then let's just indent this whole class. Okay, and this is now called multipart controller. All right, let's just see if this still works. Yes, Okay, so our create route works. Now we have our show route. Excellent, making some progress. All right, so got our post. Now we got our upload ID, right? So this is just here. So key is param key. So now the result is equal to this. So let's go here. So we got our result is equal to client. And this is going to be .list parts. And then we're going to have upload ID and key. Okay. So here we're going to go key. And the uploaded ID is actually now, see, we can see that the upload ID is part of the get request. So that for in our instance is going to be called ID, params ID. All right. So that's params ID. Sweet. And then the key is a param key. So this will be params key. Okay, that's the result. And then the part, so we're gonna get a bunch of parts and it's gonna be an array. That's what it looks like. And it's got these, it's in this weird casing. So let's go copy this style. So the result is going to be something like JSON equals result map. Okay, whatever, that's wrong, but we'll just auto-complete it. And then we're going to grab this here and just format it so that it actually makes sense. Now part fetch. Let's put a comma there so we can sort these guys. Now we're going to just return JSON like this because we're going to return that object. Now let's see if we can do this. So we need the upload ID, right? So what we're going to look for is this guy. Let's create a new tab. And it goes to Multipart, and then the upload ID is this guy. It's long. So we're going to pass that ID in there. Boom. That's what we're looking for. And then we're also going to pass through a key, which is the actual key of the file, which is this one. And that's going to be called key. Now let's hit send. Let's hope that that works. Got a mistake. No route matches. S3 multipart. Let's just double check that. Now, is it because Rails is expecting that ID to be a number or not? Okay, so what it looks like is we've got a full stop or a period in here, and that's going to stuff up the Rails pattern matching. So what we need to do is just go into our routes, and what we can do, I think we can add, I found this here, so we could probably add in this ID regex here. And let's add that in. Get rid of that, and then add show route back in. And let's see what we get. It still doesn't look like it's getting the full thing there. Maybe we just have to add this in here, format as well. Maybe I'll just also move this here. We only care about JSON. Let's see. Okay, no route matches get uploads. All right, so we will keep working on that one. I think we also just need to make sure that we're actually adding in all the characters. So in our route, so if we scroll down here, we also need these guys. There we go. Okay. So we just need to make sure, I'm just hoping that what characters this could actually have, because we need to make sure that we always, you know, we're allowing all the different characters in. So I'll see if I can find that on AWS. If not, I'll just keep moving on. Okay, so what I've done, I've actually just changed this to a constraint here with the ID. and basically said anything except a slash is accepted. So anything except a // because that's what we use for breaking up paths. So if we have a look here, so if we put a slash in here, it doesn't match. And there it does, okay? And now what it's saying is just that we need the key. So if we jump in and have a look at what our key was, it was this, boom, there we go. So what we're basically getting here is that there are no current upload parts available because we're doing the list parts, and then if there were, we'd get these different parts for that. So that's great. So we've got that next route working, which is the list parts. So now we can move on to the prepare upload part. So in the documentation here, let me just see if I can bump that up a bit. Can we close this? Yeah, there we go. All right. So it's prepare upload part. Okay, so the route we're looking to create here is now multi-part, upload ID, then batch. Okay, and then the batch has the upload ID. And then we got the key and then the part numbers. All right, so we need that. What is this one doing? It's prepare upload parts. We get the part numbers uploaded to us. Okay, cool. So let's try and create this route here. So we're gonna go open up a do block. And now we're gonna say member do, and it's not get show, it's called batch. Is it a get? Let's just check that. It's a get request, all right? So now let's have a check if our route matches. So we're gonna go Rails. Let's just bump that up, grep S3 and see what we have. So it goes uploads, S3 multipart ID batch. Perfect, that looks right to me. Multipart ID batch, just check it matches that. Excellent, all right. So we need the key, we're gonna pass the key, and then we're going to pass in part numbers, and it's going to be, looks like a string that's passed like that. All right, so now what we can do here, let's go up and create our new endpoint. Let's just check where that's going to actually hit. So the batch is going to look for the method batch, multipart batch. All right, here we go. So we're going to go def batch. All right, no cursor. Thank you very much for trying. All right, so batch equals part numbers. So we need to just grab this. So we got our key and then our part numbers. All right, so key is params key. And then part numbers is params part numbers that are split by comma. So I'm imagining that this is just a string that's got the commas in there, and part numbers is a param that's passed up, that's fine, and that's the variable. And then we're going batch equals part numbers of map part number, and then the result is client call prepare. So it's client dot prepare upload part, and then we pass in upload ID, which comes through, which is params ID. Yeah, we got our key. Do we need this key anywhere else? Probably not, so we'll just grab that and chuck it in here. And then the part number is the part number that we're mapping through, so we're looping through that array there, and then we're passing that part number in. Now, this part, what is this part? This part is returning an array, which is the part number, and then the URL, the fetch the URL. Okay, so that's going to return an array. So it's going to be an array of arrays, is what I'm reading this like. And then we're going to render JSON. And it's going to be like that. Okay, I think that's it. Let's give that a spin. So it's going to be upload ID batch. Now, let's see what that does. So we got this guy, and then we're going to say batch undefined method split for nil cast. That's fine. So we probably don't want to throw an error there. So realistically, we want to say, so if we have params part numbers, realistically, we actually have to return early. Let's just say we're going to be a little bit lazy here and just not actually, if you're throwing it, we're going to just fail. So that's fine. We could just say if no params part numbers dot present, part numbers require status bad request return. Let's see what happens with that. Part numbers are required. Cool, pretty print that. Yep, boom, there we go. Okay, solved. Now part numbers, we're gonna go here. And I think we just pass them like 1, 2, 3, like that. There we go. So what does this route do? It's called basically create multipart. This part, prepare upload part, sorry, there it is. Returns the endpoint that we should be using for uploading a new part. Okay, cool, great. So this has given us now authenticated URLs that we can hit for each part. So we can upload these parts now to the bucket. That's what it's looking like. And each part, so we've got part number 1, part number 2, part number 3. And then there we go. So it's a 1, 2, 3. Excellent. Cool, that's the batch endpoint. So looking at the docs, the next one is the complete multipart upload, but there's also this, looks like there's a preparing a part for a specific part number. I'm not sure. This is like a batch one, and then this is a single one. So we probably need to implement that one as well, it looks like. So what's this prepare part? So we have to go in here into our routes. We need a resource, basically look, or a get, which goes to, so to do the next one, to get this part number specifically, we're going to create a show part. Well, it's even not show, it's actually prepare, I think. Prepare part. So I might call that prepare part. So we'll create a new, and I might even do this. I might even go this and go batch goes to prepare part batch. Okay, so we just renamed this guy. Let's just make sure it still works. Oopsie. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Okay. Let's see if this one, come on, still work for me. Nothing. Because that's now hitting this one. Let's just see. Should catch that batch one. I wonder. Will this work? Yep. Let's see if that works. That routing looks right. There we go. So we got that one working again. And then if we do part number, so let's just go 1. There we go. So now it's hitting that route. Okay, great. So let's copy what's going on here. So this is the part number 1. So we've got the key. So we need the, basically this guy. Okay. Here. Client prepare upload, params ID, params key, and then the part number is params part number. And I reckon let's even do that to keep it with convention. Like that. And then we are going to render. It's a lot of thinking in this one for me, so please bear with me. The URL, right, which is result.fetch URL. Okay, let's have a look at that. So if we do that, and then we go, we don't need that anymore. We send that. There we go. We've got our URL. part number 1. Cool. All right, so that's that one. Excellent. Let's keep moving. All right, so next up is the upload complete. So that's the complete multi-part upload. All right. So what does that route look like? S3 upload complete. It's a post request. So we need the upload ID and then we need complete. So member do, got the ID. So we're going to now have post complete. Okay, so let's just check that route. So we have got a post complete. So it goes uploads, multipart ID complete, upload multipart, upload ID complete. Excellent. All right, and that's going to hit the complete endpoint. So let's chuck that in here, complete. It's crazy how wrong it gets it when it's trying to autocomplete. Anyway, let's go. Key parts, client call, and that. So I'm just going to copy all this in just so we can see what we want to do here. Where do we use key? Keys used multiple times, so this time we can actually say params key, and parts is equal to params parts. All right. It's interesting why it calls it parts here and not part numbers. Part number is parts.part number. That's an interesting change there. Weird. I wonder if that's just how S3 sends it, because realistically I'd call this part numbers. So what I might do is just that. Part numbers equal dot map part number. Right, and then we're going to say begin part number is, wait a minute, maybe these are literally called actual parts, because that looks like it's, so it's passing parts. This must be in a different format actually. So we're going parts equals parts.map do part, and then it's going to begin, it's going to find this, and it's going to fetch part number from the part, and it's going to fetch the E tag from the part. So these must be objects. And then it says at least one part is missing, or E tag field. Okay. All right, so that's the error, parts. And then what we're doing here is we're saying client dot complete multipart upload, upload ID, which we get, which is params ID. The key is defined there, the parts are defined there, and then we're getting the object URL, which is the final URL. Right, so that's that. Passing in the key, and with ops public. Now this is if it's public. Now where are you getting that from? So that's the options public. So that's if it's public read. I'm gonna put this to false for now. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna render JSON like that. And location will be the object URL, okay? Now, unfortunately, I don't think we can actually test this, because unless we upload parts, and I don't know how to trigger that manually yet. So we're gonna just hope that that method works right now. All right, so let's hope that that works and move on to the next one. So in the docs, I can see here that we need this object URL, but object URL is not looking like it's here. Object URL, it's only here, and that's in part of the complete route. So it doesn't look like that one needs to be added right now. That's fine. But what we do need to do is the delete, right? So we need to have that route. So we're gonna say here, and we're gonna have delete. Actually, that will live on the multipart itself. Delete. So yeah, we're gonna go create, destroy, and show. Might put show before destroy. I like to do that. All right. Constraints complete. Now let's just check our routes again. Standard. Now we should have a destroy, delete to uploads S3 multiple ID. S3 multipart upload ID. Perfect. Okay, let's go implement that. So now we've got here, we're going to have destroy. Now you're wrong, but anyway. So first thing is the key. And do we call this key multiple times? Doesn't look like it. So realistically, it's a begin block. All right, so we're going to go client dot abort multipart upload. We're going to pass in the upload ID, which is again params ID, and the key is params key. Okay, and then we're going to rescue. Upload doesn't exist for key. Cool, no worries. And then we're going to render. This just renders look like an empty object, and that's just going to be boom. Just that, JSON. I think that's what it is, just an empty object. Excellent. I might even just return success true, to be honest. Just for the sake of mind. And that looks like it is that. All right. He's got a special method here, param with the exclamation mark, parang bang, checks that if that's missing, it returns an error. Clever. Cool, so that's a nice way to set that up. So if any parameter is missing, it's just errors, which is a nicer way of doing it, but we probably don't need to do that because we're the only ones consuming this. All right, so that looks like we have all the endpoints there now. We have create, we have show, prepare part batch, complete, and destroy. Excellent. Okay, let's see if we can actually get this working on the front end now. So what we can do is we can comment these guys out. Just don't need Uppy anymore. The route's so good. Don't need this guy. All right, so here's our pre-signing. And now inside of Uppy, right, our endpoint is now actually upload. Let's just check, it's the prefix is uploads. Right? And I don't know if you need a trailing slash. Let's just see if that works. All right. And then should use multi-part. We're just going to say, yep, we don't need this in production value right now. So we're just going to say it's 100 meg, then we use it. So let's give that a spin and see if it actually can trigger it. Inspect, upload, and then we're going to drop in a video. So here's a big video. All right, let's check the network and the console and hit upload. See what happens. So what it's doing first, it has to just chunk it up into pieces. There we go. And this is hitting direct upload, so that's not right. That isn't right. That wasn't meant to happen. Okay, so something's not right. It didn't actually trigger it. So we have to just make sure that this actually gets triggered. So should use multipart. So I don't know why it didn't actually do that, because it should hit this and the file size is bigger than 100. So let's have a look at why that's not working. I feel like my JavaScript's not loading properly. So let's just do a, let's do a yarn and try and build the JavaScript itself. So let's just have a check it out here. Go away, mate. Build. Let's just see if it's actually building or if it's crashing. No, it's done. So it's building. Why then are you not doing this? So this is the upload button. Allow multi, proceed false. Endpoint. This should be returning file sizes greater than 100 meg. Let's just check this guy too. Is production. Okay, so that's interesting. So we've got to figure out why that is not, it's hitting this one and not this one. All right, as in all circumstances, usually it's just a weird server issue that I was running in. Now I've got my code running. So now if we try and do this, we should see a check. Here we go. All right, so we got our first error, unprocessable content. But we can see here we got our should use multipart is returning true. So that's the first step and piece of the puzzle, just to make sure our code's actually hitting that, which it was not doing. All right, so we are getting true. Now, what's happened here? Come on, mate. So if we just run that again, upload, what's happening? So it's hitting uploads S3 multipart 422 unprocessable content. So let's have a look at that. It could not post, error failed, unprocessable, uninspected token is not valid JSON. Okay, so what are we getting back here? So post, preview, can't verify CSRF token. Okay, so we're gonna have to try and pass this token in here now. That's a tough one, so let's see how we can do that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to just skip forgery protection right now and see if that works, but I bet you we're gonna get an error with authentication. So if we just refresh this, and make sure we got our inspector open. Yep. What's your error? Params is missing. Or the value is blob. So what are you actually sending up? File name, metadata, and type. So what are we missing? We need byte size, we need to do the checksum. So we're gonna actually have to implement our own things here in Uppy in the front end. We're gonna implement the custom endpoints, or the custom options here for each of the endpoints in Uppy, because we need to pass through our headers, which is a CSRF token, and then also we need to send through our authentication cookie. So let's do that. So we can do this with Uppy. And we can do this, firstly, is this create multi-part upload, okay? So let's start down here. All right. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna test it. It's gonna console log. That's what it thinks is the next best step. So let's go here, chuck a file in, big file. Where are you? There we go. Upload, cool. Here we go, we create the multi-part. So the first thing is we need to hit the endpoint. So what is it saying it needs? This is the one, a function that calls the API to create a new upload. So in our case, right, that's gonna be this create endpoint. So we have to hit that. So we can pull in from here, it's a post, and get the get. And we also need the destroy actually. So we're using the Rails request.js library just so that it automatically does all those things for us, right? It adds all those headers and stuff for us. So we need to do the post, the get, and the destroy. So now we can grab, what does it need to return? It needs to return a promise for an object with keys, upload ID and key. So let's have a look at our routes again, just to refresh our memory. I need a new thing here. So we're gonna go Rails routes, and then here we go, so great S3. So we want to hit the post route to create this one. So it's uploads S3 multipart, all right? So let's go here. We're gonna chuck that here. And then let's just grab this post request. We use it down here. So we don't need to await because it can use a promise, it says. So we don't need to await. We can just hit post. No, go away. Return. And it's going to return to this one. And look, you could possibly put these all in as values, but it's just a bit messy. So I'm going to leave it like that. The body and the response kind is JSON. And the body, let's see if I actually use this already. There we go, pre-signed body, cool. So we can actually do what we wanted to originally. Sick one. So we're going to grab this checksum because we need to create the checksum of the file. All right, great. So let's just find back up to here. And first part is, so we're going to say async because we need to do some awaiting on this bad boy. And then we need to chuck this in here. Right, so the checksum generates that per file. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna get all that out of the file. Data, name, size, type. So we're gonna get the checksum. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna pass our pre-signed body, and that's in this format that we expected it in the controller. Remember, we got that error before, so we need the blob. Great. So there's our pre-signed body. And I mean, look, we could probably just pass in this whole body like this, boom, here, because we don't need that. Cool. So we return post to that, pass the body, and we are getting our authentication cookie and our CSRF magically inputted here. So let's have a look and see. Hopefully that all works. So let's open up this guy. All right, chuck a file in. What do we get? What do we get? We should see that hit here soon. There we go, we got a multipart post. All right, here's our key and our signed ID and our upload ID. Boom, there we go. All right, excellent. Now look, it tried to do the next part. Cannot sign without a key. So it's tried to hit the next part of it and it just couldn't do that. So that was undefined key. So we need to now handle the next section, which is this. It's trying to actually do a multi-part with the key and then the ID of the upload and the key. So we need to actually pull that out. So why can't it get it from here? Key, signed ID, upload. All right, let's have a look. All right, so I'm gonna try it now. I'm gonna await the response. I'm gonna await the data, and then I'm gonna put it into setting the file metadata, so that we have it in there, so we can use the signed ID later. So I wanna just check this, okay? And then what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna return the multi-part data, and hopefully, because Uppy wants the upload ID and the key, and I think that's what we're giving it. Let's just, so it's upload ID and key. Let's just make sure it's actually getting it in that format. And see what's going on. So it waits a little bit, chunking it up. I probably should use a smaller file so it goes quicker. Here, and then we've got the key and the upload ID. Meta is not defined, meta is not defined. Okay, that's cool, whatever. And then upload failed. So why is that? So reference error, meta is not defined. Okay, so this. That comes from here, LMN. Okay, let's give that another spin. Whoa, there we go. Okay, cool. So it's basically, it's chunked it all up. Okay, so that's all good. Stop though, champion. So it's trying to hit those endpoints, but it has been blocked because we need to actually implement these things, but we are proceeding to the next step, so that's good. And it created a lot of parts. So we got the upload ID, excellent, signed ID, everything's good. All right, so we need to now create the next piece of the puzzle. So we've got the create multi-part upload. Should have a blob as well. So if we just check in here and refresh that, we've got a new one down here. All right, so that's our new blob. So we'll have that ID. So if we have a look, it keeps refreshing on me. But yeah, it should match. All right, so we'll keep an eye out for that one next as well. Now, with that in mind, we got the next one. So now we've got the create multi-part upload. Now we need the next one, which is what? Sign parts, I believe. Didn't really tell us what the next step in the puzzle is. Calls it signing endpoints. Yep, list parts, probably not. Is a signed URL for the specific part. Doesn't look like it has the multi. All right, so let's do sign part. Let's do the sign part function and see if we can click that one out. So sign part. Right, And then we're gonna go here. Sign part, file part data. Let's just actually add all the endpoints here, just so that we can have them all here. I'm gonna make all of these async. List parts, and then this is complete. So we've got sign part, we've got list parts, we need the abort, and we've got the complete. I think that's all of them. Okay, so the final one is the abort. So here we go, async, yes, thank you very much, great, there we go. Okay, so we got all those endpoints now added, and now hopefully we don't get that crazy thing going on. All right, here's a video we can use. Upload. Multipart's fine. And there we go. So now we got all the sign parts, right? So the next step, so it did sign, and then down the bottom it said abort. Okay, cool. So the next piece is sign part. So it's gonna try and, so you can see that it's got the upload ID, it's got a signal. Excellent, we're making good progress. So sign part, now, sign part's our next call. So this goes, a function that generates a signed URL for a specific part number. Okay, so that's what we implemented earlier, which was the, this one, prepare part route. So let's have a look at what that is. That is part number. So it's multipart ID / part number. So, and that is a, what route is that? Multipart part number. It's a GET request. That's the endpoint here. Sweet. So let's go into sign part now. I'm going to chuck that there just so we have it. We don't need a checksum. We don't need any of this stuff, but we can do. So we did see, please didn't, okay. So part of sign part, we get the source, but then we get this second function, which is the part data, all right, which is this. And then we've got the key, the part number, and then the upload ID. Okay, so we need to grab these out. So it's gonna go const part data. All right, and then what do we need? We need the key. We need, how do I get this to show? So we get key, part number, and upload ID. And upload ID, like that. And that comes out of the part data, and we need that ID here, there, and we need to pass the key up. And it's a GET request. So let's do this. Now, you can't pass bodies in a GET request, so it's GET, S3 multipart, and then this is now in here, we're gonna have this, and then we're gonna have this, and we have to change this to a backtick. Okay. You can't have a body, but does it have query? Yes. What? Query. So we don't need the part number. We pass through the key in the query. Yep. And then the first one is actually the upload ID and the part number. That's it. And it's a JSON. And this is the sign part result, our response. Okay. And then we need to get the data. Sign part data. Okay. And from that, we can console log that and see what we're getting. All right. Let's see what happens. So we upload our file. Let's see if this will trigger it, hopefully. No, that one's too small. Damn. So you can see how it jumps between using Multipart or not, which is cool. So we only want it for big files, right? It's a bit of overhead involved. There we go. All right, so sign part, and now we're getting this back. We're getting URL. All right, so we're just getting a URL back. So really all we need to do now is return sign part data, okay? Now let's see if we can proceed to the next step. So it's a little bit of debugging here as we just match the requests to the actual expected. So if we hit open, upload that guy. Now we should, oi, here we go. So this looks like the next one. So you can see it's got all the keys here. What did you get back? And then this is trying to do something else. So this is trying to hit now. What are you trying to do? A put. Okay. So that's now doing the next section, which is, what are you trying to do? Put. Let's have a look. What is this? What is this actually? Okay, so it's actually trying to, that's actually trying to hit up. What is the problem there? That's hitting the actual URL. Okay, and that's giving us a cause issue from S3. That's a cause issue. Okay, so I need to just fix that up in S3. You can see in this, it actually warns us that we need to set this up. So if you want to allow direct uploads to S3, you need to update the bucket cause, okay? So inside my bucket, permissions, scroll down to, is it the policy? No, it's in your cause, so it's down the bottom here. Edit, and let's just see what's going on. So it needs to allow some headers. So I'll just clean that out. So mine actually has allowed headers all. Get post put, allowed origins, expose headers e tag. And then it has allowed methods get, allowed origins all. All right, let's try this one and see if this fixes us. Allowed origins. I'm gonna just change this to www.clipflow.co, which actually it's a development one, so it doesn't actually matter. And let's give it another spin. Okay, so we're gonna upload this file. Upload, see what happens. Get a whole bunch of crazy errors again. No, we still got a cause issue. So yeah, it's trying to get, like we've got our everything here. You can see we're getting our URL. It's all responding properly. And then this, I don't know why this one's not actually showing us what it's returning. Cause can take a little bit of time to fix. So what I'm going to do is let's just keep moving and add the rest of the endpoints so that we can, you know, do all the rest here. So the list, for the list parts one, we want to get list parts is a get request as well, I believe. What do we have that under? So that is just the show route. So realistically, that is going to look like, if we go here, I'm going to code list parts, and that's await S3 multipart, and that just looks like this. The query is the key, because I believe we need the key. Yep, we've got the ID, and then we've got the parts. That's the list parts, response, return that. Okay, I'm gonna just leave this over here, just so that we can see what's going on. Cool. And then complete multi-part upload is, again, this is now complete, is a post. So let's grab a post from here. So we're going to go here. It's going to be I'm just doing it like this so that it's very clear, but there we go. And then we're just going to return that. And I want to console log that again. Just so that we have all this so that we can just check everything's working. And then finally we've got the delete. So we're going to go here. And this is abort. It's called abort. Yeah. And this will be a destroy to a multi-part, but this now has an ID. Right, so we're going to put in the ID, and this is the upload ID. The body is nothing. Let's just see destroy. Destroy just wants the ID and the key. So we can pass through the key here. Cool, response time JSON. And then what we're going to do is just get the response. Right, and then we're going to grab this. And then return that. Okay, so those are all the endpoints now implemented. Now let's give that a spin, and hopefully we've got our cause issue under control. Let's just double check it has saved it. It's got all that. It might, you know what, it might be this here. Let's just change this as well. Just gonna do that. Just get rid of that for now. That's just saying any origin. We're in dev, so realistically, I think he mentions that actually in here. He says, replace with the URL of your app. In development, you can set that to star, okay? So just for development purposes, we're allowing any origin because we don't want to allow local host. So here we go, we're gonna go chuck it in again. Let's see what happens. There we go. There we go. We've got uploading 5%, 6%. Here we go. We're on. So you can see it's busy uploading that all to S3 now. And we just got some, here we go, got some fetch requests that hit our server. Awesome. And that's giving us a URL. So as it's going through parts, it's creating new URLs to grab those parts from. So it works slowly through the file as it's uploading. And let's have a look if it creates anything in here. Don't think it does. So it hasn't created an object yet. But there we go. So what we're doing now, and the reason why you do multi-part upload is so that you can actually break the file up and upload as many as you can. So it doesn't just block one connection. So if you have really fast internet speed, you can upload multiple parts at once, and the upload in general will be much quicker than if we're just sending basically one connection. I also believe that multi-parts actually can be recovered from, like if it fails something, you can try again. Could be wrong, but I believe that's the case. But you can see here, so it's going reasonably fast. I don't have very fast upload speed here, but this is really cool. So we can actually see where it's going. So it doesn't actually show us the domain. There we go. So you can see there it's hitting S3, there it's hitting our server. And as it's building parts, and oh, we got a failed upload. Why do we fail? Right, so it actually failed the upload there. So what was the reason? Type is not defined. So in one of my methods I've broken something. So you can see something failed and then it aborted the upload and actually canceled it in S3 as well. So that's really cool. So complete multi-upload. So as it finished, something broke. All right. Type, where are you? Well, that's dumb, isn't it, Ken? I didn't even finish this. Okay, well that's obvious. So complete just needs the number. So we need to pass in here. This is the upload ID. That was a silly error and it's a real lame. All right, so no, do we need any body? Complete, it needs the parts. So now where are the parts? That's what I would like to know. Let's have a look. It's got the source and it's got the two IDs. It's got the key and the thing, but where does parts come from? Where does that actually come from? How do we pass it up? Parts is params parts. So this is interesting. So I'm gonna have to figure out how this works and understand where we get these from, because I can't, Uppy doesn't seem to pass this up for us. It's got the, so let's say we've got the upload ID. We want to pass through the key. That's fine. But then we need to figure out where the actual parts are. Okay, so I've actually found it very simply. It's actually here. I don't know why I didn't have the right method. Right, so that's a async. And there's the parts. All right, parts. I have no idea. So there, I care about that. All right, there's the complete. All right, so let's give that another whirl. All right, let's upload our file. Let that run. All right, so it's finished uploading now. And now we can see we're getting our, this was what was called, all the part numbers and the E tags, everything. And then we got our complete multi-part. We got our endpoint, our location. If we refresh, there it is, 190 megabytes. Boom, just done. We do have an internal crash here, the 500, which where we're trying to connect the two, and it's because we're not passing the actual file signed key up, all right? So that's the part. So let me just clear out all these comments or these console logs, because we don't want that to be littering in production. Console log, the abort works, we've seen that happen. So that's cool. Now, on upload success, right, we got this guy, and it's saying that it's not there. This not signed ID is not there. So that's interesting to me because we did put it in there. So I'll have to have a look at that and just have a look why that's not going in. Found the error. So what's happening is it's looking for the file in the local storage, because that's what we're using in dev. But what we're gonna do is in that uploads controller, when we create our blob, so what I'll quickly show you. So when it's creating here, right, it's creating it all to local service. So what we wanna do is we wanna go into our controllers, uploads, multipart. When we create this thing, we can actually go create before direct upload. We can pass a service name. All right, so service name is going to be, I think it's AWS. Service name. So let's go active storage service name. Let's have a look here. I wonder if it's keyed or not. S3. So I think, what is this actual service called? Disk. I guess it's called S3. So let's just find that. Maybe its service name's S3. And let's give that a spin before we go anywhere any further. Let's see if what that does. So we go here. And then just create, I'm actually use the smallest file now. Okay, so what's it saying? Service name is invalid. Okay, so I think it's AWS, to be honest. So if we go config storage, is it Amazon? Amazon. Let's try that. Let's flip that around. There we go. Okay, so it's accepting that now. Now if we look at the DB, we've got an Amazon. Oh, look at that. Done. There we go. It did it. So that's it. All right, so we got that working. So that's awesome. So we've set up now, we set up all the endpoints. We fixed Uppy. We've got the storages. Now, whenever we're doing the special multi-part upload, we always want that to go to S3. We don't ever want that to go to disk. Grabbing the parameters that we need, it's authenticating that thing, and we are winning. So I hope you enjoyed this. It's a bit of a complicated topic, but it is something that we need to implement because our editors were saying that upload speeds were a little bit slow. So this should improve that. I couldn't find much information on the internet about it, so I thought, great, let's make a video. All right, thanks guys. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you on the next one.